I worked at the polar bear exhibit for 3 years. One summer day, a very angry woman came up to me and demanded to speak to the manager. She was furious because the polar bears were just sleeping on the rocks. She yelled, "It is absolutely ridiculous that you don't give them Coca-Cola. I have seen the commercials. They are supposed to be drinking soda and having fun." I had to explain that marketing campaigns are not nature documentaries. We have a free-roaming peacock population at our zoo. I once caught a full-grown man chasing a male peacock with a pair of scissors. When I intercepted him, he was out of breath and angry. He told me, "My wife wants some feathers for a hat, and since they are just walking around, they are free for the taking." I had to explain that plucking feathers from a live bird is animal cruelty and grounds for arrest. I was doing a keeper talk at the giraffe enclosure. A guest raised his hand and asked a question with total seriousness. "So, I get that their necks are long so they can eat the leaves, but how do you get them to shrink their necks back down at night so they can fit in the barn?" He genuinely believed their necks were telescopic, like an old radio antenna, and that they retracted them to sleep. A family came running up to the information booth in a panic. The mother was screaming that the giant lizards had escaped and were swimming in the water near the entrance. I was confused because our Komodo dragons were secure. It turns out they were looking at the wild ducks and geese in the decorative pond. She pointed at a mallard duck and shrieked, "Look at that beast! It's going to eat someone!" I work in the reptile house. The amount of people who tap on the glass is annoying, but one guy takes the cake. He was banging on the king cobra glass. I told him to stop. He looked at me and said, "It's fake." "I know it's fake, I'm proving it." Just then, the snake struck the glass right in front of his face. He fell backward, tripped over a bench and spilled his $8 soda all over himself. He then tried to sue us for scaring him. We have a nocturnal house, where we keep the lights off during the day so the nocturnal animals are active for guests. A lady demanded a refund at the exit gate. She said, "It is unacceptable that you haven't paid your electric bill. The whole building with the bats and owls was pitch black. I couldn't see a thing without my flashlight." "Yes," she admitted, to shining a flashlight at light-sensitive animals. I was feeding the penguins, which usually draws a crowd. A guy was watching intently, looking more and more frustrated. Finally, he shouted, "Hey, when are you going to make them fly? I paid to see the birds fly." I tried to explain that penguins are flightless birds. He got red in the face and argued, "If it has wings, it flies. You guys clipped their wings to keep them here. I'm reporting you to PETA." During a busy Saturday, a woman flagged me down near the zebra enclosure. She looked very concerned. She whispered, "I just wanted to let you know that the paint is starting to chip off that horse over there." She pointed to a zebra that had been rolling in the mud, obscuring its stripes slightly. She 100% believed that we just painted white ponies with black stripes every morning to trick the visitors. I caught a teenager trying to feed flamin' hot Cheetos to our gorillas. When I confronted him, he said, "Chill out, bro, it's just chips." Everyone likes chips. I explained that human processed food makes them incredibly sick. He rolled his eyes and said, "Well, maybe if you gave them better food than just leaves and vegetables, they wouldn't be begging me for snacks." The gorilla was actually throwing poop at him, not begging. A guest asked me where we keep the unicorns. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. She didn't laugh. She said, "I saw the rhinos, but I want to see the unicorns, the ones with the pretty hair." I explained that unicorns are mythical creatures and don't exist. She got offended and said, "This is false advertising. A zoo is supposed to have all the animals. My daughter is going to cry now, and it's your fault." I work at an aquarium that is part of a larger zoo. A man looked at the "Do Not Touch" sign on the open-top ray tank and immediately stuck his whole arm in. When a stingray swam by and splashed him, he screamed. He then asked me, "Is this water wet? Why is it so salty?" I stared at him. "Sir, it is salt water, because they live in the ocean." He looked shocked. I thought you used fresh water so they wouldn't get thirsty. We have a very popular lion enclosure with a thick glass viewing wall. I saw a mother putting her toddler on the ledge, right against the glass. The male lion charged the glass, slamming into it with massive force. The mother laughed and clapped. "Oh, look! He wants to play with Timmy." "No, lady, he wants to eat Timmy." That was a predatory strike, not a play date. The lack of survival instinct was terrifying. I was cleaning the walkway near the tiger exhibit when a guest stopped me. He was holding a map and looked furious. "I have been walking around this place for 2 hours," he spat. "Where are the dinosaurs?" I paused. "Sir, dinosaurs are extinct." He threw the map on the ground. "Well, Jurassic Park has them. Why is this zoo so behind the times? What a waste of money." He stormed off toward the exit. A woman complained that the flamingo exhibit was gross because the water wasn't crystal clear blue like in a swimming pool. I explained that flamingos are filter feeders and they disturb the mud to eat, and they like the water that way. She said, "Well, it looks dirty. You should put some chlorine in there to clean it up. The birds would probably appreciate being sanitized." We had a guy jump the fence into the petting zoo area, which is strictly for goats and sheep, but he tried to climb into the enclosure with the emu. Emus are basically dinosaurs with feathers and can disembowel you. When security dragged him out, he claimed he was an emu whisperer and he just wanted to ride it into the sunset. He was banned for life. A visitor asked me why we don't milk the bull elephants. I was confused. "You know, for milk," she said, "cow milk comes from cows. Elephant milk must be huge business." I explained that bulls are male and don't produce milk, and that milking a female elephant is incredibly dangerous and not something we do. She looked at me like I was the idiot and said, "You're just hoarding it all for yourselves." I was stationed at the Great Ape House. A man was watching the orangutans swing around. He turned to me and asked, "So, at night, do they take off the costumes and go home? Or do they have to sleep in the suits?" He thought the apes were just short people in very realistic fursuits. He refused to believe they were actual animals because they looked too human. A lady came up to me while I was holding a great horned owl for an educational talk. She asked, "Is that real?" I said yes. She then poked the owl in the chest. The owl obviously did not like this and hissed. She screamed, "It bit me! It bit me!" It didn't. She then demanded I give her the owl as compensation for her emotional distress. People are insane. I had a guest ask me to separate the male and female lions because they were doing inappropriate things in front of her children. I explained that it is mating season and it's a natural process. She demanded I go in there with a hose and spray them to make them stop. "My children are traumatized," she yelled, while her kids were actually just playing on their iPads and not looking at the lions at all. At the aquarium tunnel where sharks swim over your head, a teen asked, "If the glass breaks, do we get a refund?" I said, "If the glass breaks, you'll be underwater with 12-foot sharks, so a refund will be the least of your worries." He thought about it for a second and said, "Yeah, but my mum would still want the money back." Honestly, he was probably right. I work with the wolves. People always bring their dogs to the zoo. Service dogs are allowed, but some people fake it. One lady held her chihuahua up to the wolf fence and said, "Look, go play with your cousins." The wolves immediately went into hunting mode, stalking the fence line. The lady thought it was cute. "Oh, they want to be friends." "No, ma'am, your dog is a chicken nugget to them." A man was angry that the chameleon wasn't changing colours fast enough. "I've been standing here for 5 minutes and it's still green. I saw on cartoons that they change to plaid and polka dots." I explained they change based on mood and temperature, not just to entertain him. He tapped the glass and yelled, "Change, you stupid lizard," until we escorted him out. I had a visitor ask me what time the sloth race started. I looked at the schedule. "We don't have a sloth race," I said. He showed me a brochure from a completely different zoo in a different state. Well, this needs to be honoured here. I drove 2 hours. I tried to explain that sloths move about 1 foot per minute, so a race would take 3 days. He didn't care. A woman asked if she could buy one of the meerkats. They are so cute, just standing there like little people. I have a cat at home, they would get along great. I explained they are wild animals, they bite hard, they dig massive holes, and they smell terrible. She winked at me and said, "I have $500 cash, just slip one in my purse." I walked away immediately. I was observing the kangaroo mob when a guy in his 20s started hopping up and down on the public path, challenging the alpha male kangaroo to a fight. He was shouting, "Come on, Skipped, let's box!" The kangaroo stood up to his full height, about 6'5", and flexed. The guy immediately stopped hopping, turned pale and walked away very quickly. He realized he was out of his weight class. A child dropped his Nintendo Switch into the otter pond. The dad looked at me and said, "Well, go get it." I explained, "I can't just jump in with the otters. We have to shift them out first for safety." He said, "They are just sea weasels. Kick them away. That game cost $300. He actually tried to climb the rock wall to get it himself before security tackled him. A woman was horrified by the hippos. She said, "Why do you let them get so fat? That is animal abuse." I explained that hippos are naturally massive and that is their healthy weight. She wasn't having it. You need to put them on a treadmill or a diet. It sets a bad example for the children to see such obesity. She left a comment card suggesting slim fast for the hippos. I caught a guy trying to pee into the alligator swamp. When I yelled at him, he zipped up and said, "I was just trying to help. The water level looks low." I told him that was disgusting and illegal. He argued, "It's nature. Animals pee in there all the time. I'm just contributing to the ecosystem." He was escorted out by police. A visitor asked me, "How do you train the snakes to stay in that shape?" He was pointing at a python coiled up on a branch. "It's been like that for an hour. Is it glued there?" I explained that snakes sit still to conserve energy. He shook his head. "Lazy. You guys have the laziest animals. I bet you drug them." Yes, because a drugged venomous snake is exactly what we want to deal with. We have a free flight aviary where birds fly around you. A lady came in with an ice cream cone. A parrot naturally swooped down and stole the ice cream. She screamed bloody murder. "I was attacked. That bird assaulted me." She demanded we kill the bird. We pointed to the giant sign at the door that says, "No food or drink." She said, "I can't read every sign. You owe me a new ice cream." A guy looking at the cheetahs said, "I bet I could outrun that thing." My co-worker laughed and said, "They run 60-70 mph. You would make it about 3 steps." The guy got genuinely offended. I was the fastest kid in my high school track team. I have explosive speed. He spent the next 10 minutes stretching by the fence, waiting for the cheetah to look at him so he could race it. I was working the ticket booth. A woman asked, "Is the zoo indoor or outdoor?" I said, "It's mostly outdoor. It's a 100-acre park." She looked at the sky, it was cloudy, and asked, "Well, if it rains, do you put a giant tarp over the park?" She wasn't joking. She thought we had a retractable roof for 100 acres of forest. When I said no, she said, "That is poor planning." A man asked me why the koalas weren't eating the pizza crust he threw at them. "Everyone loves pizza," he reasoned. I explained that koalas only eat eucalyptus leaves and that human food could kill them. He scoffed. "You assume they don't like it just because they haven't tried it. Let them live a little." That one looks depressed. The koala was just sleeping, like they do 20 hours a day.